Put my little microphone on. Let's do it down here. No, I'm recording. What is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I'm your hostess, doing the mostest, Kivanchi, and we are here with this NBC's Season 2 of Brilliant Minds. Season 2, Episode 1, titled The Phantom Hook, okay? And for those of y'all who are not familiar, you need to be tuning into NBC every Monday, 9 Central, so you can check out Dr. Oliver Wolf and the gang. So, for those of you who be watching me, okay, the background is looking a little unfamiliar right now, and that is because your girl has moved and we are working on a whole new setup. This is something that is just temporary right now, but I can't let moving and life get in the way of me sitting here and giving y'all all of the tea of what's going on in not only y'all's favorite shows, but my favorite shows too. And if you've already seen my Brilliant Minds coverage, which I did season 1 coverage on here, as well as wondering if Brilliant Minds was going to be canceled when NBC was canceling all of them shows, like y'all already know, this show is my baby. And I wasn't sure if I would come on here and even talk about season 2, because when I just really love it, I just want to protect it. I want to cradle it. I don't want to hear nobody talk bad about it. Like, it's just, I won't say parasocial. I just care about the character so much. I care about what the story and the creator, Michael Grassi, is doing with the show. And this is just one of those medical dramas that is so pure and so empathetic. Even the challenges that the characters face is not rooted in anything that is backstabby. It's not rooted in anything that is like mean. And in a lot of these shows, you get so much with medical drama that just turns into like this whole other thing. But the show is about connecting with people and about getting the average person to look at patients not as sick people, but just as another human being. It's about wanting the audience and just you as a human realizing that just because people are different from you doesn't necessarily mean that they have a disorder. It simply means that the order in which they think is different than you. And so the overall messaging is kindness, and the fact that it's based on the different cases and just the personality and temperament of a real neurologist just kind of sits better with me too, because it's just like, wow, there are really, really kind people out here who exist, and the world and everybody in it is not just a piece of shit. And there's people out here who have experienced, disadvantage, who've experienced bullying for whatever neurological or mental health, things that they had going on. And instead of perpetuating the same type of behaviors to oppress and belittle and make other people feel small, they decided to use it as a superpower to make other people like them, or people who are perceived as different, feel powerful in their differences. And so all of those things combined made me kind of be like, do I talk about this or not? But you know what? The world is shit, and we really need some kindness out there, so I'm going to talk about it. But one thing I just realized, I don't think I turned the mic feature on this phone. There's so many technical difficulties and things happening right now, but you know what? I'm gonna make it do what it do. Okay, so hopefully y'all can hear me just a little bit better, a little bit more clarity. Like I said, I'm in between setups, but it's cool because your girl got some production things in the works, okay, in my producer bag, not only with filmmaking, but also just producing my own podcast. So I'm super excited about that. But enough of the update about my life. Let's get into some updates about Dr. Wolf and his interns, as well as everybody else over at Bronx General Hospital. So first and foremost, I've already said that the show is created by Michael Grassi. The director for episode 1 of season 2 is Harry Jierjian. Apologies for mispronouncing your name. The writer of this episode is Michael Grassi and Sara Saedi. The director of photography is Stanley Fernandez Jr. And all of the original cast members are going to be listed in the description box, but I'm going to mention the new series regulars, who is one, John Clarence Stewart, who plays Dr. Anthony Thorne, who is a very charming, very handsome ER doctor. However, he is not playing around with these interns, and he is no nonsense. You need to come knowing your shit, or you need to move on. And I really love that about him. And then you have Brian Altemus, who's playing the second year residents assigned to Dr. Wolf, specifically in neurology. And he plays Dr. Charlie Porter. Now, Charlie Porter, he's very smart. He knows exactly what he's doing, but the team ain't really liking him. And there's, the intuition is intuitioning, not only with the interns, but also with Dr. Wolf, okay? And if you've already seen the episode, you could just kind of feel that this character is a little seedy, a little shady, a little snaky, and instantly you just don't trust this person at all. And in order to kind of pick that up, the actor himself is just doing a really good job at just showing the audience who he is. And it could be like a red herring type of situation. But right away, you feel how the interns feel, and you don't like this person. And you like that you don't like this person, at least for right now. And then for all y'all Scandal fans, okay, Bellamy Young has a recurring guest role. She's not going to be in every episode, but she has a recurring guest role, and she definitely shows up in the first episode as Dr. Amelia Frederick, and she is the lead psychiatrist over at, give me a second so I can pull up the name of this hospital. She is the lead psychiatrist over at Hudson Oaks Behavioral Health Services Inpatient Mental Health Facility. So, y'all, if you already seen season 1, you kind of know that this show is about the mind, it's about the brain, and it follows the neurology attending Dr. Oliver Wolf. But we also look through the way that the cases of the mind work together on the neurology floor overall. So you have the neurology attending, which is Oliver Wolf, chief of neurology, but then you have the neurosurgeon, the chief of neurosurgery, Dr. Josh Nichols, who is Dr. Wolf's boyfriend, question mark. And then you have the chief of psychiatry, who is Dr. Wolf's best friend, Dr. Carol Pierce. And so it looks at the, what's the word, like interchangeability and just collaboration across different mental events that could be either medical or behavioral, or both, or does one facilitate the other? And if we solve one, then we automatically alleviate the other in that aspect. And you do this throughout a bunch of different unique and not unique neurological cases that filter through the entire neural team. But if you want to catch up on season 1, you can go ahead and watch season 1. We're not about to do a whole season 1 recap here at all, but we will give you like basically where we left off. And then we're going to get into the meat of this episode titled The Phantom Hook. So the big things that are like kind of up in the air is, one, is Dr. Pierce going to lose her job? So she found out that one of her patients purposely sought her out, and that patient was sleeping with her husband. She subsequently ended up filing for divorce, but she continued to treat this patient knowing that it was a conflict of interest. So we're really coming into season 2 just trying to figure out, okay, is this woman going to lose her job? And you're really looking at a moral and ethical type of situation, as well as just dealing with her as a woman. You're dealing with the Hippocratic Oath. And so Carol's storyline really kind of plays on the sympathies of what it's like being a woman and being a professional. and when both of those worlds collide, what is the best decision, right? Y'all tell me what you would have done. Would you have continued to treat the patient, or would you have given her over to someone else? I would really love to know, because for context, she did not know this at first. She had been treating this girl for 2 months before the girl said something during one of the sessions, and she ended up finding out. But then the girl, her name's Allison, she ended up kind of manipulating the situation and made a major suicide attempt in order to keep Carol as her psychiatrist. But y'all tell me what you would have done in that situation. The next thing that is up in the air is Oliver's dad, who was believed to have been dead for 30 years, was not dead. And it ended up being his dad's idea to have him think that he died, and his mom, who is the chief medical officer at Bronx General, ended up just kind of like going along with it just for the sake of Oliver. So they basically decided that would be easier if he just grieved his father, who was suffering from bipolar disorder, who was also a famed neurologist. But he put Oliver in grave danger when Oliver was 14. And so that was the decision. But then his daddy came back in the final 2 episodes of season 1 with some type of neurological disorder that he's just like, okay, you're the only one who can fix this, so I need you. And it kind of upends everything, because now he's finding out his mama knew and lied. His daddy just up and left, and they ended up bringing Carol into it. So he mad at everybody, and because of that whole situation, it kind of implodes his relationship with Dr. Nichols, because he's supposed to be meeting him. They're getting ready to go. Like, Dr. Nichols is being honored at one of these what do you call them? Not listening to like a doctor event, but like he's like a famed neurosurgeon, right? So he's being honored at one of these conventions or whatever. And Oliver ghosts him naturally, but then he just never follows up on communication. So that's leading to, is their relationship still intact, or can it even survive the chaos that is a 30-year lie? Like, that's crazy. So we're moving into season 2, and it is much darker and more psychological. Not necessarily that you're going to get more psych cases, but more so that you're diving into the psyche of the patients as they're experiencing behavioral events and mental health episodes, as well as neurological events and episodes. So just even in the cinematography of it all, we're spending equal amounts of time with the doctors looking on as third parties, versus almost kind of like if you're playing a car video game and you hit the setting to go inside of the car. Now you are the patient, and everything on screen as you, the audience, is watching it, is as if you are the first person character that's experiencing this event. So we are going deeper into these things, and so that you can visibly see what a patient who is on like LSD goes through, what a patient who is colorblind goes to, a patient who, sees images or hears voices and stuff like that. Like, you, the audience member, is getting brought into that visually and auditorially. And I think this is a very brilliant, no pun intended, approach to making this medical drama different than any other medical drama that's out right now, and any other medical drama that you have seen. So we open up this episode. It's 6 months later, and Dr. Wolf is trying to escape a mental health institution. And in comes Dr. Frederick, played by Bellamy Young, and you're just kind of like, what is going on? Now, right away, you're just like, okay, maybe he just cracked under all the pressure, like everything is crazy. But even the framing and the color grading of this scene suggests something sinister and suggests that he may be there against his will. And as a doctor who is known to put himself in his patient's shoes, you're instantly asking yourself, okay, did he check into a facility to do like an investigation on his own that's not sanctioned by anybody except his own self? And now his ass got caught up in some real serious stuff because he has to share his real actual feelings. Or did something happen and he suffered from a psychotic break? So out the gate, season 2, episode 1 is just like, boom, baby, we're here. You're not canceling us. We're here to stay. And so now we go back 6 months earlier and we are looking at the interns. So you have Ericka, you have Dana, you have Jacob, and you have, oh my God, his last name is Dr. Markus. Is it Ian? I'm making this up? Dr. Markus. Anyways, so they are moving into their next round of rotations, and so they're picking up patients inside of the emergency room, even though in season 1 they are described as neurology interns. But as you intern, you got to go through multiple rotations. I asked my dad how long rotations were. He said they're about 4 weeks as you're kind of going through like the different specialties. And so it's through these rotations that we run into Dr. Thorne. Now, Carol is here in the episode, but she's opened up her own little like private practice where she's just doing psych work for the rich and the spoiled. And she hates her job, y'all. And in this episode, Portia Williams from Real Housewives of Atlanta is one of her patients in this episode. So she making a lot of money. And Carol does genuinely look a lot happier than she did in season 1, but you could just tell that this is a woman who is not intellectually challenged by her patients, and she is absolutely and egregiously bored. So Oliver ends up getting a case with a boxer, and we're trying to figure out like, okay, does the boxer have the case of the yips, or is something else actually going on? So he's like, girl, you know you hate your job. Come on back over here with your bestie over to Bronx General right quick. We could just use it as a consultation, and you could just see what's up, get back in the groove, get challenged a little bit. And when she comes back, you see that she knows who Dr. Thorne is, even though he was not present in season 1. But Carol is unattached, okay? Her hair is longer, her skin is glowing, she is thriving, she's wearing brighter colors. And there's a little bit of some flirtation and stuff going on with Dr. Thorne. And so here I am, and I'm just like, good loving body, rocking, knocking boots all night long. Mm-mm. Because she deserves. She deserves. After her whack ass husband was out here with this girl that he worked with, then you introduced your child to this girl too, and then you told Carol it could have been anybody. It wasn't just about Allison. Like, the fact that he looked at her face and was like, it could have been anybody. I could have cheated on with you, with whoever, because I wasn't unhappy and I refused to talk to my wife about my feelings. Like, she deserves to move on. And Dr. Thorne is fine. And so, what better way to get over somebody than to get under somebody else, And her ex-husband was a doctor. He's a doctor. He's younger. You know what I'm saying? Things can, we can spark there. We can light a match. And so we have that whole situation going on. Now, in this, with this episode about the boxer, we end up finding out that his father and the family doctor, who's been in the family for a long time, have been drugging this man who kind of is like a prodigy, right? They've been drugging him in order to mask the fact that he has early onset Parkinson's disease. And so when you look at the episode and you're just kind of looking at the problem solving and just how we go through this, we're going to do the medical drama through all of it. Like, it is the A story. What is wrong with this patient? But when you really peel back the layers of what the primary story is doing in this aspect, you have a father who was a boxer and he had all of these different dreams, but he reached his cap based off of resources, time, becoming a father, whatever it is that life gave him. And he ended up having a child who he recognized has a similar talent and who could be better than him. And instead of cultivating that talent in a healthy way, he ended up pushing his own dreams, trying to live vicariously through his own son, to the point where you are killing your child by hiding something that could be deadly in the long run if not treated right now during the early onset stage. But by trying to hide it, you're now creating additional neurological problems with the phantom hook. This man is no longer in control of a portion of his body, not because Parkinson's is doing it, but because you are so hell bent on your child like carrying the family name and the legacy and whatever other bullshit that family members end up doing. And we see this a lot. You have dancers, people who run track, and all these other things where the parent kind of moves and force their kid into a space where the child no longer even likes the sport. They're not even doing it for the love of it anymore, because every time they sit down to get a sandwich or some fucking Totino's pizza rolls, you sitting up here talking about get outside, run this, sprint this, shoot this many baskets, hit this arabesque, go ahead and do this, that, and the third. And so their passion has now become a job or the cash machine in order to hold up the entire family, to get the entire family out of poverty, or to make you feel better so that you can ride the coattails of their success. And so at this point, it doesn't matter if your intention is to push them beyond their limits so that they can become the greatest boxer, dancer, put something there, right? It when you really peel back the stuff from the parent, it's also kind of rooted a little bit in jealousy, like that you weren't able to achieve the success in your time. And so you're maybe angry at your parents for not going above and beyond. And so that anger at your parents and maybe a little bit of jealousy at looking at your kids and being like, damn, they're way fucking better than me. It kind of becomes the perfect storm and the perfect mix of ingredients to then turn into super dad in this case. And you are doing something that will literally kill your child. And so in this, if you know season one and you know that a lot of the cases are very triggering to different events in Wolf's life, but we're also bringing in a little bit of elements on how the cases are triggering to the interns in the other positions as well. It's like you're peeling back the layers of the doctors too. And that's another part of the show that I thoroughly enjoy, is that like it's not doctors treating patients and the doctors are being seen as these super healthy individuals who might, like, I don't know, do cocaine on the weekend or whatever. Like, everybody has a thing. Um, Dr. Wolf has prosopagnosia, so face blindness, right? And then he also now dealing with the PTSD of being lied to, saying that your dad was, dead for 3 decades, but also being a child of someone whose father suffered from bipolar disorder and being the child of another doctor, a surgeon, his mother, who didn't know how to handle all of the feelings. And so she took a little bit of that distance and just treated her son like a student rather than a child. So you have him with all of those things. You have Dr. Carol Pierce, again, chief of psychiatry, who not only just the husband of it all, but she suffered from postpartum depression disorder after having her child. You got Dr. Ericka Kinney, who in the last season almost died in a building collapse, and she watched somebody die in front of her. So she's masking her own PTSD through the use of taking other pills to forget it. But she's not necessarily taking pills to forget it.
she's hiding the fact that she's taking pills because she looks at taking pills to help with depression and PTSD as a sign of weakness. Then you have Dr. Dana Dang, who's been open about her PTSD when in her anxiety disorders from when she found out that her sister died while she was in high school. You have Dr. Jacob Nash, who had to quit football, even though he was D1, like getting ready to be recruited into the NFL, but he is afraid that he's suffering from CTE because he had a lot of concussions in school and he still deals with certain tremors and certain type of headaches. And then you have Dr. Markus, who has mirror touch syndrome. And so if he doesn't find an appropriate anchor during procedures, he feels exactly what the patients feel. And not only the patients, but everybody else in the room. And then you have Dr. Josh Nichols, aka Oliver's boyfriend, not boyfriend, who was in the military and just suffers from the PTSD of it all, suffers from don't ask, don't tell, having to hide his own sexuality. So the doctors relate to the patients, they relate to the audience. And therefore, every time they are interacting with the patients, centered around Dr. Oliver Wolf, um, it's about approaching them with empathy, approaching them on their level and not talking down to them, but connecting with them where they are in their mental distress in order to help them as best as possible. And that doesn't necessarily mean having a cure. It means helping them to live with what they have and accept those things and then be vocal about it and not having a shame rooted around everything that's going on. So it's not just about helping the patient, it's about showing up for the patient in unconventional ways. But in those unconventional ways, you end up doing um, the greatest, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but you end up having the greatest outcome and the greatest prognosis for them, even when that patient believes that the greatest outcome for their disorder or disease is death. And so that is kind of like where we are. And you really jump into this episode with the case that they're dealing with. On top of the B story of Dr. Carroll and her job being up for debate. And again, was it moral? Was it ethical? And figuring out, Carol felt like she did what was best for the patient, despite it being the worst possible decision for her relationship. And then you also have the other story of just Josh and Oliver, where Josh is really ignoring the fact that his father is at home and he's trying to treat him without having this conversation. And you look at the fact that he's employing the avoidance technique of avoiding his father. But by avoiding his father, he's avoiding his relationship because the relationship got imploded because of the situation that happened with his dad. And they have to do all of these things and show up every day at work while still having the same human issues that their very patients are having. And with all of this, we end up going back 6 months earlier, y'all. We end up going back 6 months earlier, and I already said at the beginning of this, you wonder, is Wolf going here as undercover as a patient to kind of like investigate these things? Did something happen to where he is like there because he ended up suffering from a psychotic break? And you go back and it's just like, what in the fuck is going on? You have no idea by the time you get to this episode what happened with Dr. Wolf. And based on the episode, you really just looking and trying to figure out like, okay, how did we get here? But the little nuggets are there in the first place. And you really get a lot of Wolf being like distrustful and just kind of being very curious about the things that's going on outside of his own life. So I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Given the whole like um you put the situation up front and then you got to try to like figure out and solve it in reverse. Those are my favorite types of things to watch. Is my favorite books to read when you get like the end result and then now you're getting like all these different red herrings and you think you know what's happening but then you actually have no idea. So I like the approach of this season and how they're doing that with these characters. So I don't know. Y'all tell me why you think Dr. Wolf is in the mental health facility because I have a couple of theories, but I'm gonna wait until a couple of more episodes to figure it out, especially since season 2 has way more episodes. I think it's a full season order. The first season was 13 episodes, so I'm gonna give it 4 episodes before I start dropping my theories. So there's that. Season 2, episode 1 of Brilliant Minds, The Phantom Hook. Now, y'all know I started ending these things with my thoughts. So let me put on my notes. First thought, love Portia Williams as a guest star in this. Her name was Bitsy. I loved her. She was so funny. And honestly, I feel like Bitsy needs to be a continuous patient of um, of Carol. I just kind of love the comedic beat that she gave. And it was one that wasn't really in season 1. Like season 1 still had like its comedy moments, but really just kind of going into the wealthier side of things and the non-serious issues that the wealthy can kind of have. I think it's a comedic reminder that you don't have to go see a psychiatrist whenever you're in a mental crisis. Sometimes you just need to talk to somebody outside of your friend group, outside of your social circle or your family circle to just gain perspective and to just keep a solid baseline so that it makes it easier to talk about your life when you're in crisis versus you're in a mental health crisis. You're forced to see somebody and now you don't know where to begin. So I think continuing not only her character but just other characters like that can help the audience member normalize like it's okay that you weren't beaten or assaulted or poor or on drugs or anything to go see somebody. You know, where your life is right now could still be stressful to you and it's individual to you. And if you feel like you need to see a mental health provider for that, then go do it. I think that is absolutely necessary. And the way that they included that in this episode was chef's kiss. It was funny. Um, Carol and Ericka, okay, they look the fuck good. Yes, Ericka is like secretly taking drugs, but you know, she dropped the man drama from season 1. Carol dropped her man, okay. And not only do they look good, but the hair department got a raise, y'all. The hair department got a raise, so I'm not even gonna hold y'all. I was not liking them wigs in season 1. I love the flashbacks of Carol with her natural hair after she gave birth. Love that so much. And I guess the wig on Ericka was like appropriate to like a broke post grad intern or whatever. But she got her goddess braids in. We got our micro braids in. Carol's hair is a little longer. That wig is laid and snatched. Body is tea. And I'm loving it. Love when more money is given to production. Shout out to y'all. Um, I love that Josh and Oliver are a couple in their 40s because even throughout this episode, Josh was still like sticking up for Oliver in the ways that count, not only as a colleague, but just as somebody who said, you know, I'm falling for you. I think I'm falling for you. Um, and to see the maturity of it and not that stupid 20 something year old, we're avoiding each other in the hallways and all types of other shit and we can't work together and all those other things. Like just seeing a mature relationship um, between two men, seeing a relationship between two men where it's not like, who's the girl, who's the guy, who's masculine, who's feminine. Like that whole situation is just beautiful to me. I love them just as a couple and just continuing to see this and explore what that's going to look like without the mess and to see them still navigating this new space with empathy and with care for each other even though they're kind of in this limbic state is absolutely beautiful. So shout out to the writers in that. And honestly, Zachary Quinto and Teddy Sears has been, you know, husbands in American Horror Story before. So already kind of going into it with that chemistry and knowing how to dance with each other in these spaces definitely contributes to how they are presenting on screen. And I love that a lot. And then lastly, again, just going back to the cinematography and the direction of it all, like really getting into the patient's mind, really going even heavier with the color grading and the graininess and, you know, the purples and the reds and the greens and the absence of color to show the flashbacks versus the present versus what the person is experiencing. You know, there was even a couple of supernatural elements within this episode, just like really blending the experience of the mind in a show like this on primetime television. Like, you're not getting this anywhere else. And that just makes it just beautiful. Like I said, I mean, I'm here now. We've popped the Brilliant Mind cherry. I'm here. I'm going to do episodic reviews on the podcast. But this is why I love it. This is why I love it so much. It's something, it's innovative, right? It's like, what do we call it? What am I learning right now? It's market innovation, right? We're not taking a new product, right? This is the same product, but we're doing something new with it. Oh, maybe it's product. I feel like it's product and market innovation. Either way, it's fresh. And I mean, just somebody who at least right now has seen the first couple of episodes. Um, my overall thoughts of it is I feel like the season 2 is going to be its breakout season. Normally, when you look at trends of different shows, season 3 is typically the season where the shows get their stride and they take off. The audience grows exponentially, the writing, the budget, everything just kind of increases. But I feel like season 2 is going to be that for Brilliant Minds, especially because they're just combining so many different elements into a primetime medical drama that we have not seen. And I think it's going to be its breakout season, not necessarily in terms of audience. I think the audience is still going to be growing. But as far as creativity, as far as innovation, and the cinematography and just storytelling within a medical drama, I think it's going to do what ER did back in the 90s. Like, we're getting something new. Like, you know, we had MASH, we had all these other things, and then boom, the 90s ER came and it was like crazy. It was everything. Scrubs, right? We're taking a medical field and you're turning it into a comedy. And so I just feel like Brilliant Minds is doing something that's just unique, and while also focusing on a specific part of medicine. And they're not doing the whole one doctor is the cardiologist, neurologist, pulmonologist, ED, trauma surgeon, or whatever. They're focusing on a specific specialty and diving into that. And the mind is so fascinating. There's just so many different stories that you can go with this. And even going through the rotations with the interns too, it just gives you so much meat to explore and to follow these characters for seasons to come. So, like, can you tell that I love the show? But yeah, with that, y'all already know the deal. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave comments in the comments box below. Let me know what you think about this show. I will be here every week. Again, you can also follow me on Instagram at So There's That Podcast, where Instagram is now going to be like a mirror of my written publication where on Substack. And Substack is basically going to be an extension and written reviews, things that I don't even say in this podcast, y'all. But there's people who just like to read. They don't maybe have time or the energy or even want to listen to me talk. But that's where we're going to be sharing our film news and TV updates as well. You can find me on TikTok, where I do short form reviews on shows that I do not talk about on the podcast at Kivanchi. And you can always find me on Twitter talking my shit at Kivanchi. And yeah, rock with me through this transition, y'all. For those of you who are watching, I have some things cooking up. I got things in my mind But once I'm fully settled, obviously you're going to see with your own two eyes. And for those of you on Spotify listening, we are dancing with the fact that I might also do the video on Spotify as well, so that you can get an option to watch it on Spotify or either listen on Spotify or watch it on YouTube. So yeah, your girl is cooking, but things are going to be taking place after November 1st. I got 3 classes that I'm doing right now, full-time job, transitioning in between homes. There's so much going on, managing all of these different social media sites, expanding my own brand. So just bear with me. Give me till the end of November. But it's some exciting things to come. And if y'all want to see some things or want me to implement some things within the realms of the stuff that I'm already controlling, then leave comments, leave suggestions. You got Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, and Twitter. Hit me up on any one of those platforms. And with that, I will catch y'all in the next episode.